Thank you for joining us again tonight. We have been having a conversation about mental health. And we started on Sunday with a sermon about mental health. Monday, we talked about rest. Last night, we talked about the stigma associated with mental health. And tonight, I want to talk to you about forgiveness. What does forgiveness have to do with mental health? Well, believe it or not, a lot. When someone sins against you, when someone does something to you, whether it's something you don't like or something that's just wrong, it often leads us in a position where we really don't want to forgive because they really don't deserve our forgiveness. And it's true, they don't deserve our forgiveness, especially if they never apologized, never repented. They justify what they did. We really want to hold a position where you're like, well, I'm not forgiving you. And unfortunately, unforgiveness will definitely cause a system of unforgiveness. So if you unforgive one person for doing whatever it is, you insert that there. It is easy for us to become unforgiving in general. And so I'm going to give you a scenario. I'm not talking about any particular person, okay? I'm not talking about you. I'm just giving a scenario. Let's say someone was not molested, but felt the unwelcome look of, let's say, an uncle or a family friend as a child, where, we'll say a young lady had the attention of a much older man that they didn't want. And that is wrong. If you never forgive that person, what happens is the next person that looks at you, there's a wall that's built up. And so the next person, there's a wall that's built up. And so you're going to start eliminating the possibility of any of those people really entering your life because that one person's transgression years ago, 10, 20 years ago. And so now you have a hard time with anyone coming around you or anyone saying anything to you because of the unforgiveness that you held from 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Because you never forgive them, you can't forgive anyone who looks like them. I know that there's some I have a friend of mine, and if you're watching, I'm not talking about you. But she doesn't date black men because at one point there was a black man who exposed themselves to her. And so she can't date black men. There are some people who have decided, and once again, friend of mine, not talking about you, who have decided that they were going to become a lesbian because there's a couple of men in their life who cheated on them. There are some men who become really callous because that's how they were taught to deal with people of the opposite sex. Joyce Meyer said this: harboring unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping your enemy will die. Now, I don't quote Joyce Myers a lot, but I can say that has never There's never been a more true statement. Um, we take unforgiveness and it becomes a wall in our life. It boxes us in, and then we're hoping that they're going to get hurt. But we will literally put a barrier between us and God, hoping that this person will be hurt. And it doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about it. But you want to hold on to that unforgiveness, and they could care less about the unforgiveness. Todd Delaney has a really good sermon series about forgiveness. I recommend anyone who is dealing with unforgiveness in their heart, go back and watch it. I think it's called Forgiveness University. But unforgiveness is one of those seeds that grows to be a plant in our mental health. When you can't trust people because someone did something, someone said something, and you haven't learned to forgive them yet, then you block yourself from being able to even deal with new people. You reserve yourself from even going further in your career, because you've been job hurt. You stop going to church because you've been church hurt. And hurt, we want to protect ourselves from, and that's understandable. But in protecting yourself from any type of hurt, you hurt yourself from being able to have love, from being able to have security, from being able to have joy, from even being able to have peace. Unforgiveness does that. And when you have all of that going on in your mind, you're setting yourself up for mental events. So, what unforgiveness are you dealing with? And unlike, previous nights, this is not something I need you to put into the comments. If you feel like putting into the comments, go ahead and put it into the comments. Or, even better, admit that I am dealing with unforgiveness. If you would put that in the comments, I am dealing with unforgiveness. And begin to get to the place where you can say, God, I want you to help me in my unforgiveness. Lord, I want you to teach me how to forgive. I want you to train me and set my heart to the place where I can let some things go. I can leave some things at your feet and really let you deal with it. And that's the second part of unforgiveness that I want to address. We tend to have a lack of faith that God is going to deal with that person, that God is going to punish them for their sin, that God is going to, that God cares enough about you that He's going to see about that person and how they treated His daughter and His son. We tend to have a lack of faith in that. And so we have to hold on to it because we don't really trust God enough that He is going to see on our behalf. I want to share this verse with you. Mark 11:24. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. That's good, right? 25. And whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father also, who is in heaven, may forgive you your trespasses. We don't often see forgiveness as a prerequisite to be heard by God, but it's in there. It's in the Bible, because we put a wall between us and God in unforgiveness. And there's another thing that I would encourage you to do for someone who has unrepented sin against you, someone who doesn't treat you well, someone who just, dogs your name. Start speaking life into their life. Start speaking the things that aren't as if they are, and watch them be. Start. I have an employee right now that, I have to say, man, I'm just glad that you're such a hard worker. He's not at all. He does just enough. But as I started saying, I'm glad that you're just such a hard worker. His work has improved a little bit. Start speaking those things that aren't and watch God make them happen. But it begins with forgiveness. It begins with forgiveness. Forgiveness is a necessary part of getting our mind and our heart in line with God's plan. Because outside of forgiveness, you could be doing all the right things. You could be praising the right way and praying the right, but they all kind of work together. And so if your heart and mind aren't right, what your body is doing and what's happening in the spirit world, you're dragging the system down. Comment. Let's continue this conversation. Let me know what you're thinking. And we'll see you tomorrow. God bless you.